Hi, thanks for tuning in to Noir Histoire. I'm Natasha, and in this episode of the Career Interview Series, we're joined by Jeremy Ellis, a travel registered nurse. While he was born in Alabama, Jeremy moved a lot during his childhood and at times lived in Texas and Florida. He experienced a period of stability as a college student studying nursing at Auburn University. As a child, Jeremy dealt with health issues that required regular visits to the doctor. A nurse took the time to make him feel welcomed and comfortable, and that experience, combined with watching General Hospital, motivated him to become a nurse. Jeremy shares the details of how he navigated nursing school, as well as how his childhood prepared him for a career that requires frequent moves. Before we get into the interview, I just want to apologize. I had some technical issues with the video, and it seemed okay at the time that it was being recorded, but when I was editing, I noticed that at some points that I drift out of frame. So I do apologize for that. Stick around after the interview for the key takeaways. Hi, thanks for tuning in to Noir Histoire. We are joined today by Jeremy Ellis, a travel registered nurse. Thanks for joining us, Jeremy. How's your day going so far?
It's going pretty well. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your platform. So happy to be here. So my day has been going amazing. How's yours?
Pretty good. All right, let's jump right into it. First question. If you can, give me a brief overview of your personal history. Where are you from, and what were you like as a kid?
Okay, so I pretty much say all over because I went to 12 different schools growing up. So I lived in Alabama, I lived in Texas, I lived in Georgia, I lived pretty much everywhere. I lived in Florida for a little bit. So I'm pretty much from everywhere. But lastly, where I lived was Texas, Houston, Texas. So people ask me, "Oh, where you from?" I would say, Texas. So as a child growing up, I say I was the only child, so I was very, I guess, quiet, and I was like into books and stuff, into adventurous stuff, and I was really, really into swimming. So I swimmed a lot. So I like that. I thought I was gonna be the Black Michael Phelps. I tried to go into the swimming pool every day, but I guess that didn't happen for my life.
Okay. And where were you actually born? Were you born in Texas or in one of those other cities where
I
you
was
lived?
actually born in Alabama. I was born in
Okay.
Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, cool. All right. And where's your family from? Is your family also from Alabama or
Yeah.
somewhere about there?
So most of my family either lives in Birmingham, Alabama, or Denver, Colorado.
Oh, Denver.
I know that's kind of weird. It's kind of like two different regions. It's because my grandmother, she moved out to Colorado, I guess, for grad school and kind of created a family. And some of my family wanted to stay in Alabama, and they kind of spread it out different, different states.
Okay, cool. So, you mentioned that you were quiet as a kid, but that you also moved around quite a bit, attended a few different schools. Um, was there an adjustment for you going from school to school or from location to location, or not so much? Do you think that might have played a factor in you being quiet as a kid, moving from place to place, or do you think that was just a natural disposition?
Oh yeah, yeah, most definitely. I think moving from different schools, it taught me pretty much how to make friends quickly. And most of the time I was just quiet because I knew I wasn't gonna be there that long. I knew I was gonna be there 6 months out. Oh, you're gonna go to the school for a semester. So it's no point of really making friends. No point of attaching yourself to somebody. And I know that sounds kind of terrible, but I think that's kind of how I kind of grew up, and I think that kind of played a factor into me doing travel nursing because a lot of people ask me. Uh, do you get lonely or do you miss your friends? I'm like, not really, because I kind of, grew up doing that. So I think that really, really played a factor into me being quiet, not really talking to people.
Okay. And so, I guess if you don't mind me asking, like moving around, I take it you weren't moving for work, right? Like you would have been a kid at that point.
Uh,
Were your like parents in the military or something, or were they moving as part of their jobs or just for like change of scenery?
Not really. My dad was in the Marines, but most of the time it was just due to just a real messed up just home life. You know, going from my mother to my father to living with my aunt for a little bit. So that's the reason why I jumped around a lot.
Uh, Okay. And so, you mentioned that you were like really into swimming and reading as a kid. What were some of your other interests as a child?
Probably playing basketball. I play basketball a lot. Looking at different medical stuff, like looking at, I guess, General Hospital growing up. All right, I know that's kind of off the subject, but that's probably why I was interested in medicine. Is because we didn't have cable, so the only thing that you could watch at 3 o'clock was General Hospital, and so I know it was kind of crazy.
So you were like 7, 8 years old watching General Hospital?
Yeah, things I should have not knew about at the age of 7 and 6. So yeah.
Okay. Any other interests? Were there like particular subjects in school that you really enjoyed, or a little bit of everything?
Oh yes, definitely social studies and science. Those were my two strong points, especially social studies. I like to learn about history. I like to learn about different things that happened in the past because I believe that the history repeats itself, and if we learn from the past, we can do better in the future. So I really like social studies, and I really like science because I feel like science was kind of like memorization. I learned about, you know, you learn about the nucleus and the cell and stuff like that. I felt like it was just memorization, just like social studies. So those are my two favorite subjects. I didn't like math or anything like that. That was just too hard.
So you mentioned moving to different schools and things like that, and also living in different states. What kind of a student were you in class? Like beyond the subjects that you like, were you like an AB student, maybe more CD? Like who were you in class?
Okay, I got two parts to that question. When I was in, I'll say elementary school all the way to high school, I was a bad student just due to just the moving around. I never could keep a consistent, how everybody say, what kind of student were you? Were you a C, B student, a B, A student? No, one progress report, I was a C, D student. One progress report, I was an A, B student. So I think moving around kind of affected me. And then when I got into college, I was more stable, and I ended up graduating top of my class, actually number one. So I think that kind of helped me. But I was not a good student um, in my earlier childhood.
Let's take a step back to school before you got to college. Did you work during high school, or maybe before that? Did you ever have like any after school jobs or little part time hustles or anything like that?
Not in high school. I did when I was in college, but not in high school. I didn't really. I'm telling you, in high school, I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to get out.
And so in high school, most likely junior, and senior year, you would have been looking towards college. Or I guess were you looking towards college at that point? And what was the process or the experience like for you selecting the college that you ultimately attended and the major that you attended? I mean, the major that you selected.
Got you. Okay, so 11th grade definitely wasn't thinking about college. I think it was 12th grade year, like around my first semester going into the second semester, like the end of that first semester. And I remembered somebody was like, "Oh, are you going to a PWI or HBCU?" I was like, "Man, I don't even know what you're talking about." So all I knew is I wanted to go to Auburn University. That was like one of my favorite football teams. Like just looking at, because I used to watch football a lot. So I was just like, if I do go to college, I want to go to Auburn.
Because of the football team?
Yeah, because the football team. I know that's so stupid. Because of the football team, I did not play a lick of football. Yeah, I went thinking about it. Took the ACT, didn't do well on that. So I was like, I know I'm not going to Auburn. So the only thing I was thinking about was Tennessee State at that moment, and I was thinking about majors, and the only major I could think about was nursing or being a doctor because I kind of went through some health problems with my heart. So That's the only reason. That was the only reason I wanted to go in the medical field and going back to general hospital. So that kind of played a factor too.
You mentioned your own personal experiences sort of guiding your decision and your major. Was it a particular experience you had in the hospital? Was it like the that you saw the doctors and nurses and that appealed to you, or was there like a specific doctor and nurse that sparked something in you or sparked an interest in medicine for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I was saying, I had some health issues, so I had something called tetralogy of Fallot, where is you're born with four heart defects. So I had to go to the doctor pretty much every 6 months, and I had to see the same doctor, same nurse, and they would do a imaging exam called an echo, which they look at the different chambers of your heart and see how the flowing of the blood goes. And so I'll always have this one nurse. Her name was Stacy, and she was always nice to me, always making me feel comfortable and everything. I was like, man, I know it would be great to be a nurse. You know what I'm saying? So I was just looking at her. I think she played a factor on me choosing nursing. And the reason why I didn't go the MD route was not because of school. I know a lot of people say, it was too, schooling with the MD route is very long. I think it was just knowing that you're not, I feel like doctors are not very, I don't want to say show compassion, because some of them do show compassion, but they're not compassionate with their patients. It's kind of like an in and out thing. Like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Your scan looked great. All right, live your life. But yeah, I really like nursing because of the compassion and the caring.
Okay. And so from there, from initially thinking about colleges and looking at Auburn because of their football program, what ultimately led to you, I guess what was the process for you actually getting into college? What happened with Tennessee and the other schools that you considered or that you might have considered?
Okay, all right. So this is exactly what happened. I'm a very religious person, and I talk about my faith all the time. I am a Christian, and I solely believe in God. So I took the ACT the second time, and I remember I logged in, see my score, only made a point higher than what I made my last score. So I still applied to Auburn anyway. I don't know why. I just applied. I had $50 laying around, so I applied anyway. But I had applied to other schools like Tennessee State, different schools in Texas and stuff like that. And so I remember I got the acceptance letter from Auburn University. I was like, oh yeah, this letter from Auburn came in. I was like, okay, I know I got declined because my grades are not even, like, I went through like 4 different high schools. Like, I don't even know if all the transcripts went there. So it said, oh, you have been accepted. I thought it was a joke. And so I think that was just God. And I remember talking to one of my nursing advisors. He was like, oh yeah, you did great on the ACT. You made a 26. I was like, there's no way that that was my score. So I believe in God. I felt like it was meant for me to go there.
So actually, to take a step back to your time in high school, you mentioned sort of moving around from different schools to different schools and watching football, but not actually playing it. You're actually quite tall, but I don't know if you play basketball or not. Were you on any teams or involved in any like athletic sports or anything like that while you were in high school or junior high or anything like that?
Oh yeah, definitely basketball. I was involved in basketball, I guess, because I'm tall. But my love for football, I like football better. Well, I love football better than I liked it basketball. It's just the reason why I didn't play football is because I had open heart surgery. I couldn't play football because of just my condition. So I ended up, I don't want to say settling for basketball, but I just played, just to play, just to do something.
Not always, but quite often, when you have young men, particularly young Black men, and they're of a certain height, when you're moving through high school, not saying always, but a lot of times the sort of pushed idea is, oh, you should play sports or you should go into this or go into that. But it seems like somewhere along the way that you focused on nursing. I don't know if that was, always the plan or what have you. It doesn't seem like sports was really at the forefront for you, though you might have played along the way. Is that accurate, or did you have hoop dreams while you were in high school, or not so much? Were you not that good, or what was the deal there?
No, actually, I was really good though. Actually, our team won 2 state championships. So, um,
Okay.
yeah, we were actually good. We were actually a sports school, and honestly, I don't even know how I got there. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But like you said, yeah, as many African American men in the country, especially like you being a certain height, you're actually I was pulled in by the coach the first day of me going to school there. They were like, "Yeah, this is a new student. His name is Jeremy." He was like, "Oh, you're pretty tall. Do you want to play basketball?" That's how I got caught up in basketball. I never was passionate about basketball. I always was passionate about reading and science, and that
Okay.
got me into nursing. So I was focused on nursing ever since literally the 12th grade when I decided in my mind that was something I wanted to do.
So you get into Auburn, in school. Were you able to immediately select nursing as your major and start working on that track, or did they have you on more of like a general track until like further on in your school career?
Yes, when you enroll as pre-nursing, and
Okay.
that's kind of pretty much like all over. I don't want to say most 4-year colleges. They want you to enroll in pre-nursing, and if anybody listening to this and you want to get into nursing, make sure you get in pre-nursing because nursing they have different classes that they want you to take in order for you to get into that nursing school because nursing school is a professional school. It's just like grad school. It's just like law school or medical school. It is a professional school. So they want you to take these classes your first semester, your second semester, and you got to make sure you pretty much break those down if you want to be at SN. So yes, they made all of us get into pre-nursing classes.
Okay. So you're now at Auburn. Prior to that, were you living in Texas? Was it in Houston?
No, I was living in Alabama for 6 months. Yeah, that was yeah.
Okay. And so from there, you then went to Auburn. So you mentioned having moved around a lot and then being at Auburn for 4 years, correct? Or was it like a 5-year program?
It was 5 years.
Okay.
I struggled I kind of struggled my first year. I don't want to say academically, more financially. I couldn't take the courses that I needed to take.
Okay. So taking into consideration your experiences, earlier on in life and while in high school, moving around quite a bit, and then get into college where surprisingly, unlike a lot of other students, you now have more stability because you're in one place for pretty much that stretch of time that you were in college. How was it adjusting to those two environments where for a lot of students when they get to college it's their first time out on their own? You might still have your family and support system, but you're responsible for getting yourself to class on time, pretty much making that transition into adulthood. But for yourself, you also have the additional experience of this, being the one place where you're living for quite a stretch of time compared to your previous experiences. Was it like a substantial adjustment, or did it come quite easily to you? What was that experience like for you?
It had came quite easily for me because I was already functioning as an adult on my own. I had to kind of grow up pretty fast at the age of 16. I don't want to say lost both of my parents in death, but lost both of my parents just in communication in life. So I had to
At the
grow up,
age of 16?
yeah, at the age of 16. Um, just to give you a general overview before we get into my first semester. By losing my parents, I lost my mom from mental illness, so I didn't have my mother anymore. I lost my father over just me and my father just going back with some abuse. So I kind of just left my parents. That's the reason why I was in Alabama for 6 months and finished my high school career. So pretty much getting to college, adjusting, I felt like it was just like life. You know, a lot of my friends, you know, that I was with, they kind of fell to the wayside because you have a lot of temptation when you first get there. You're at a big university, you got different things going on. You're really not focused on school and life. But I knew that I had to make it. I had to get out. So I think I was very, very focused.
Okay. And how was your experience of just being on campus? Like you mentioned, Auburn's it's a really big school. There's a lot going on. Having lived in some other places, I guess did you enjoy the experience at Auburn? Were you involved with any groups or extracurricular activities? How was your college experience once you got settled in?
Uh, my first half at Auburn, um, it was okay. I want to say it was okay as a African American student, but I'm saying like the whole experience as a whole. Yeah, you're at a big university. You go to all the football games. You know, your school is on TV every week. You know, you get to live that life, and you're going to I guess what you call it, a red flag university. You know, you get all the perks of that. But I say, as an African American dealing with racism in Alabama, it wasn't as glamorous as, you know, as I thought it would be. Actually watching it on TV, you know, watching football every week, you know, because most of the time the only people that you see on the field are African Americans, you know, students. But when you get there, you're like, hey, where are all the football players at? Hey, you know, I'm the only black person here. You know, no, I don't play sports. So having to deal with that was kind of like, oh,
Was that on the campus, like at the school itself, or moving about in the Auburn community, like out off campus, or
um,
both?
I say both. I say both. On campus, it was kind of like Sunday afternoon at church. You know, everybody's happy. You know, we are a family. We're Auburn family, but actually trying to do progressive stuff at Auburn, you know, as a black person, it was kind of hard. And I guess that's coming with the off campus, you know, dealing with different organizations and stuff like that, you know, pushing more equality, bringing more diversity to the school.
Okay. And so were you personally involved with that? I guess were you trying to push those initiatives? What role exactly were you involved with?
Most definitely. Actually, me and my friend Benjamin Baker, we were trying to bring more diversity to Auburn University, like actually going into inner city schools, actually bringing these students in to kind of boost up the population of diversity, you know, whether it be Black students or Hispanic students, because our number was really, really low. I think we were like 7% out of 95%. You know what I'm saying? Out of the 100%. So yeah, so we were definitely trying to push for more equality on campus.
Okay. And I guess did you have any particular experiences on campus with regards to, I guess, either feeling uncomfortable or maybe not quite welcomed or anything like that, or even just within the community, or both, if you did have that experience?
I felt welcome. I felt welcome. Yeah, like everybody was nice, everybody was friendly and stuff like that. I never had any racist experience where anybody called me the N word. Um, I was in a situation, but you know, the girl, she was a little intoxicated, but we let that slide. But I never was in an incident where they were like, "Oh yeah, you whatever." We had, I think it was more of the policies and the different ways Auburn did things that kind of made us push for equality, because they had something at Auburn called a machine. And the machine was like different fraternities. They would say, oh, you will be the SGA president this year, then you will be the SGA president this year. It was never pushed for somebody that actually had good ideas to bring the college into, I guess, a more diverse light, or a more, um, I guess, better position. It was more just policies, and this is how we've been running things since 1960. So that
Oh,
was what we had to deal with.
okay.
Yeah.
And so stepping away from like the more student life type of things and more towards the academic, tell me a little bit about your training to become a registered nurse. What was the program like at Auburn, and how was that experience?
Yeah, the program at Auburn Nursing was amazing. Everybody there was very helpful. Um, just even coming in, um, it was it was things that I struggled with trying to adjust from being an undergrad student to going into a professional school is very hard. And so I felt like they were very helpful. I felt all our professors were very knowledgeable. If we ever had a question, they always answer it. Very approachable, even though this was a big class, very approachable. Um, so I think my overall experience in the nursing department was amazing. And yeah, they really elevated me to the nurse that I am now.
Okay. And so you mentioned that you spent 5 years at the school. Your experience was a little bit longer because you had like some adjustments to make during your first year.
Yeah.
But you mentioned undergrad versus the professional nursing school. Was it like you spent 2 to 3 years in undergrad and then you started taking like more nursing focused classes? How exactly did that break down?
Oh yeah. So I spent 3 years in undergrad, just basically getting all my chemistries, biologies, all of the prereqs that they wanted me to have. And then I spent 2 years in nursing school. Everything in nursing school is strictly just nursing and clinicals, like actually going to the hospital, being hands on. So I did 2 years of that, and I went straight through with no, I guess fell in a class or anything like that.
So you mentioned earlier that you didn't work while you were in high school, but you did, I guess, have your first job during college. What was that job?
Oh, yeah, I worked at the library. I worked in interlibrary loan department. I worked there for 4 years.
Okay, so you were a librarian? Do you like stock the shelves and stuff?
No, no, no. So what I did was I scanned articles and I sent them to different universities uh,
Okay.
throughout the United States. So if somebody, for instance, somebody at let's say UCLA in California, they needed a book that we had that they didn't have. We will scan the whole book and pretty much send it to them. Yeah, that's what I did. I just scanned books all day.
So the whole book,
Whole
like like page by page, or
page by page. Sometimes it'll be broken down. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, we need the only thing we need is 50 to 56. We only need 6 pages." But sometimes it'll be the whole book. Hey, we need 1,000. We need 1,000 pages. We need you to scan this book. But
oh, that
yeah,
sounds incredibly boring.
it
Was
was.
it enjoyable? Did you have a good time?
I mean, I listened to a lot of podcasts. I listened to a lot of sermons. I was so I think that was the smartest I ever was. I was a lot of nursing stuff because we could listen to our headphones, and I
Okay.
just listen to my podcast or the sermon and just scan all day, scan for like 6 hours, and then go to class.
So you now get to the end of college, and it's not quite as extensive as say medical school, but for some nursing programs you're required to do like sort of on the job training, right? Like you go and you train in hospitals and things like that. How was that experience? Were you doing that while also still continuing to take classes at college, or was it like a semester focused on working in the hospital? How exactly did that work?
Yeah, so mostly like most nursing programs, if you are trying to get a BSN, your last year, so your last semester, which would be the fifth semester, um, they will set you up with a preceptor. So you have something called a preceptorship. So that whole year, your whole grade is riding on preceptorship. So you'll wake up like a regular nurse, 7 to 7. You'll put in the 12 hours and you'll pretty much follow a nurse, pretty much the whole shift. And I did that at a little hospital in Columbus, Georgia. So I did that for almost 3 months.
Okay. And so at that time, you were going back and forth every day to Auburn, or did you just stay in Columbus?
Yeah, I was going back and forth. The drive is about 50 minutes, so I would
Okay.
forth. So yeah, so I will make sure all of my days were kind of like back to back, so I could knock it out and be off for like 5 or 4 days.
Okay. And so now you get to the end of college and you are officially a nurse, right? Is there an exam at the end of it that you have to take to get registered and whatnot? Okay. Did you do well on that?
So yeah, let me talk about that. Actually, this is a blessing in disguise too. So we have to take something called an NCLEX. Everybody in the nursing world took the NCLEX. So how the NCLEX work is, if you do really really well on the test, your test can shut off at 65. Or if you really did really really bad on the test, your test can shut off at, well, let me rewind back, 75. If you do really really bad on the test, it can cut off at 75 too. Or it can go up to 256 questions. So it's between 75 to 256, 265. I'm sorry. These numbers kind of all over the place. I took all the questions. I took 265 questions and I failed the first time. I failed the first time. I was literally off by like a little bit. So I had to wait 60 days in order to take it again. And during that time, I would wake up, go to the library every day. Like, people, I swear, they probably thought I was homeless or something. I would literally be by the door waiting for the library door to open so I could study like literally all day. Took the in class again, did all 265 questions again, and I passed. And that was God. And I actually made a YouTube video about it, and it actually went viral. And so it helped a lot of nursing students out to this day. I still get messages.
Okay, so you did a YouTube video about like celebrating that you passed the exam or about like your study habits? What exactly was the video about?
It was a combination of both. Just being happy that I passed, helping other kids pretty much pass this test, and my studying habits, and what materials to pretty much study, because there's a lot of materials out there that you can study the NCLEX, but I believe there's only two methods that really really help you during the test. So I let that out there. So it really went viral.
Okay. So you've now graduated from nursing school, gone through all of your training, passed your exam,
Yeah.
no more scanning library books.
Yeah.
You're off into off into the real world and ready to start your first job. What exactly was your first position out of college? Did you go straight into nursing at a hospital? What was that first experience?
So I went to Houston, Texas, back to Houston, Texas, and I got a job at MD Anderson. So if anybody don't know what MD Anderson is, it's the #1 cancer hospital in the world. So I took a job as a research nurse.
Okay.
That job, I didn't have to wear scrubs. I wore suits every day to class, and I did research. So then pretty much you're in a lab with scientists, doctors, um, different, just a lot of brilliant, bright people. I was the youngest person. I was 23 at the time, and everybody was, pretty much older than me. So that job was pretty much amazing. I really liked that job. I stayed there for a year. Found out I couldn't really pretty much get much experience, doing other nursing stuff, and then I went to floor nursing.
Okay. So let's actually take a step back.
Yeah.
What was the recruitment process like, or how did you find that position? Was it something that, let's say, you applied to online? Did they recruit at your college? How exactly did you find that position, and how did you make your way into it?
Oh yeah, so it was actually spring break. Me and my friend Denzel, I actually do my podcast with. Uh, I woke up one day. I said, "Hey man, you want to drive out to Houston, Texas? You know, it's fun out there." We both just didn't have any money for spring break, or go to Miami, or go to exotic places that everybody goes to on spring break. So we decided we're just gonna go to Houston, Texas. I knew people out there, whatever like that. We're just gonna have fun. So in my mind, when I got out there, I was like, "Hey, let me just uh, pretty much talk to the local hospitals because I'm about to graduate soon and try to find me a job." So I walked into MD Anderson. Everybody know about MD Anderson. They really don't be handing out jobs like that. You gotta go through the ringers to even get a job there. So I walked up, went to the HR department, and said, "Hey, I need a job." And they were like, "Hey, we're on a hiring freeze, but we can get you someone you can talk to." And I said, "Okay, cool." So this lady came out with the pamphlet and all this other stuff, and I showed her my resume. She said, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep in contact with you." I said, "Okay." Went home, got an email from the lady that day. She said, "Hey, we have a research nursing position open. Would you like to apply for it?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess. I don't know what research nursing is, but I guess it pays." So she set me up with an appointment. I remember being on Skype with like 30 people in the room on Skype. And I was I was talking to them. I said, "Oh man, I got to turn up on this interview." And so, so I pretty much, I guess, answered all the questions correctly. I went to another round, then another round, then another round. And I went through like 4 different rounds to get that job. And I guess
Was it all Skype interviews, or were some of them in person?
yeah, all of them were Skype interviews because I wasn't in Houston at the time. I was back in Alabama.
Okay.
So all of them were Skype interviews, just different levels of the department, like different heads of the department. They wanted to see if I was a good fit, and I guess they thought I was a good fit. They hired me, um, and it was pretty much amazing.
Okay. And so you said that you spent a year there before you moved into floor nursing.
Mhm.
If you can, just speak a little bit about what exactly did you do as a research nurse, and not just that, but your transition into this first post college position. How prepared did you feel for that position?
Um, So I'm gonna explain what a research nurse is. So basically, what I did was, so we deal with patients that are stage 4 cancer, pretty much on their last. I don't want to say last go around with treatment. And so I worked on a research team that a doctor. He created a something called immunotherapy. So it pretty much rears up your immune system to fight the cancer. And this was new and I guess innovative, and it's still new and innovative, and it actually cured a lot of people. So what I would do is I would go around pretty much talk to potential candidates about being on the immunotherapy trial. I would consent them. As I will consent them, they will go through the process where we have to pretty much give them the drug. They will have to come back uh, different weeks or months and pretty much tell us how they feel about, how their body's been reacting to the drug and different things like that. And also, we had to look at stats. We had to read different articles. We also had to read our, I guess, what you call it? We had to read our things that we collected from the patient also, and pretty much compile it into one document, as a research article or a research journal, and present it to the oncologists that we work with. So, and then they would team up with us also. We'll team up with different hospitals like Emory University, Mayo, and different universities around the nation. So It's very a complex job. It's not one thing that you do, but it's just a variety of different things that you do, and it's just basically research.
You mentioned that in this role, when you joined the department, sounds like it was pretty large, a lot of people, and that you were like the youngest person when you first joined.
Yeah.
Um, Having this be like your first job right out of college, how was that experience? Working with these people that probably have years of experience that are much older than you. How was that transition for you? Did you feel prepared once you got into the role, or I guess a little bit overwhelmed? How did you feel?
I felt very prepared because we were Alabama. Well, Auburn was like I said, it was a great university, and we actually had a course called evidence based practice where we did research, and that class actually prepared me, and I actually had a good relationship with one of my research teachers there, and it actually prepared me for the job. I think I dealt with things more mentally that kind of held me back probably the first 3 months being there because I thought that I'm not smart as these people or I can't bring new ideas because I'm young and different things like that. I think I battled with it more mentally until I had somebody that was older than me that kind of brought that out of me and told me, hey, when we have meetings and stuff like that, speak up and speak your mind and do things like that. But I was prepared from a nursing sense, but not a mental sense, if that makes sense to you.
Okay. And fortunately, this person took like the time out to kind of, give you a little push and motivate you, encourage you to speak up and to participate a bit more. But is looking back at that period, is there anything that you know now that you wish you knew when you first graduated?
Oh, I think more of the financial, just more finance. Really just, I know a lot of nurses when they first come in, they tell you, take the salary that they give you, just be lucky you have a job. And I wish I would have negotiated, my pay a little bit better, stuff like that. Because I wasn't getting paid what floor nurses were getting paid. I had people in my department and nurses that were around me that were making six figures, easily. I wasn't making that, and I was doing most of the work, So I felt like, if any new nurses, if you're hearing this, I say pretty much negotiate, what you're worth. You went through a lot of schooling to get to the point that you what you got to. So I think more financial stuff. I wish I would have knew coming in.
You spent a year in that position and then left and went into floor nursing role. Is that where your career as a travel nurse began, or were you working like at a regular hospital for a period of time?
Yeah, yeah,
Or I
yeah.
guess as a regular employee at a hospital for a period of time?
Yeah, same hospital, but just a floor nurse now because I can because as a travel nurse you have to get at least 1 year of floor experience. So going into my second year, I knew that I had to get some floor experience if I wanted to travel and make I guess make my income increase. So I had to get on the floor, pretty much dealing with the same patients, same different thing. I just wasn't doing consents anymore. I was wearing scrubs and actually hanging IV poles and doing things that regular nurses do. So yeah, so I just pretty much transitioned from research to floor nursing. So that's pretty much how that happened. And plus, our department was making a lot of changes, so pretty much had to get out.
I take it you spent what, about a year or so in this role on the floor before you went into floor nursing, or was it a bit longer than that?
I say about a year and 6 months.
How did you then transition into floor nursing?
Oh, it was hard.
I'm,
Definitely
I'm sorry, not floor nursing, travel nursing.
travel nursing. Gotcha. So pretty much, I transitioned into it because I was pretty much curious about it. I was hearing a lot of people say a lot of great things about it, and so pretty much what I did one day, I just called up a travel nursing company and and I worked with the agent, and she pretty much went through all the different possibilities that you know, different possibilities and benefits that I could get with travel nursing. Kind of played with it a little bit for about 3 months, and then I just decided to just jump head first into it, and that's how that came about.
Having had these three really distinct experiences, well,
Mm,
these three different experiences, let's say,
mm.
research nursing, your traditional floor nurse, and then as a travel nurse. Um, were there things that you liked about some more than others? Were there pros and cons? How'd that work out for you?
Yeah, definitely. I say with all three is different pros and cons. Um, I say with research nursing, the pros is you don't have to be in the office to 9. You leave at 5. You work 9 to 5 pretty much. You work Monday through Friday. You get weekends and holidays off. You get to see your family more. You get to have more of a work-life balance. The cons with that is you really don't get hands-on experience as a nurse. You don't hang IV poles. You don't start IVs. You don't do a lot of things a nurse would normally do. That was the pros and cons with research nursing. With floor nursing and travel nursing, the only thing about floor nursing, I feel like you get to stay stationary if you want to have a family. You get to stay in one place. You don't have to move. You don't have to worry about what contract I'm gonna sign next. Things like that. That's the only good thing with floor nursing. I feel like the cons with floor nursing is just the politics you have to deal with. Um, I, that's the only thing I think of floor nursing. Travel nursing, everybody knows the pros is the money. The money, but the con is just moving around trying to find a different contract every 3 months. I feel like it's just different. It's just different. It's just different pros and cons to all three. So no one thing is better than the other, in my opinion.
Okay. And not so much about working on the floor, like the day to day of that. But if you can speak a bit about the experience of being a travel nurse, obviously, like you're working contract roles and things like that, you move around a bit. How does that differ for you when you're actually working in the hospital? Let's say when you're traveling, you're working on a contract within a hospital versus when you're just a regular employee working within the hospital.
Like I said, a lot of just it comes down to the politics. You know what I'm saying? Working with different people and getting different roles and stuff in the nursing field. I think that's the most thing it comes down to. You know that you're going to be there for 3 months. I heard a lot of travel nurses say, I don't need to make friends. I just need to go in, do my job, and be out in 3 months. And I think that's pretty much the thing. It's just really politics uh, with the floor versus the travel.
Looking back over your career, I mean, you spoke about your early childhood experiences on through high school and then making that adjustment during your first year in college. But since becoming a nurse and actually working out in the field, have you experienced any hardships, failures, setbacks, or things that you perceive as such during your career?
I say yeah. I say the setbacks that I did receive were this both came with just being a research nurse and being a staff nurse. I remember when I was in a research position, the boss told me, "Hey, we're gonna have to cut back on some of the certain things that you're doing. You're pretty much not being an asset to what we're doing." So that was kind of a big moment in my research career because it kind of makes you feel like you're not worthy, like you're not doing anything. You're just there, and people think that you're not doing your job. And it actually happened again when I was a staff nurse because, like I said, I had lost my skills for a year. So when I first got into the staff nursing position, the first 6 months was rough. And I had somebody come to me and say, "Hey, we're going to need you to follow behind another nurse because we feel like your skills are not up to par." So I felt like those 2 times were really, really setbacks in my career. Just not feeling like I was worthy enough to even be in nursing or be a nurse.
Okay. And in that experience, as a research nurse, was that a matter of them scaling back on the research being done, or was it a matter of them specifically cutting back your responsibilities?
Yeah, cutting back my responsibilities, and actually, I had to sit with a research nurse, uh, sitting with a research nurse like I did with my staff nursing position, pretty much going back from day one, starting all over again. So,
Mm,
like I said, that kind of kills your confidence as a nurse, and most of the time, it was just due to me just doing things a little differently, and people, like I said, it was a generational gap. When it's a generational gap, people don't really understand why you do things the way you do them versus how they was doing it for like many years. So I think it was more a generational gap with the research.
okay. So not so much doing things incorrectly, just doing them
Yeah,
differently than the status quo.
yeah, just doing it differently than the status quo. Pretty much using more technology than I do writing, stuff like that. Like I said, my boss was 60, 67. I'm 23. So the generational gap was huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so we'll actually wrap it there for discussing your training and how you got into the career. And now spend a bit more time discussing your work philosophies. So, first question up is, how do you personally define success?
Um, I define success as you achieving your goals that you plan for yourself. I think a lot of people define success as what you obtain materially, materialize. But I believe, hey, if you said that, hey, I want to be a real estate agent, and you became a real estate agent and got your license, I believe that you're successful. I believe what your goals were, and if did you achieve them, I believe that's success.
Okay. And so, how do you define success for yourself? Like, if you were to achieve XYZ or having achieved XYZ, I believe I'm a success.
Gotcha. I think I would. I think me achieving success or my definition of being successful, I don't think I have achieved success. Uh, I believe I haven't reached my goals and what my potential could be. I believe if I reach becoming a multimillionaire and having many streams of income and also becoming a lawyer, which is my next turn into my life. I think when I accomplish both of those things and actually my family being healthy and financially well, I feel like I have achieved success.
Okay. And so, branching off from that, um, you mentioned the desire to become an attorney. I would take that as being one of the goals that you're planning to pursue. Is that something you plan to pursue in the near future, the more distant future? And then, what's like the long-term plan for that? And will nursing still be a part of that future vision?
Oh, most definitely. So my plan is to attend law school next year. Actually, this came about ever since, like I told you, we're winding back to college, being more progressive and trying to have more diversity on campus and stuff like that. I always found myself being in an activism role. I always found myself looking up to people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. I actually just watched a Malcolm X movie last night, and it was very long. But uh, I watch things like that because I actually want to help my generation of people. Um, I feel like I can make more progress in this nation if I become an attorney. And I love nursing. Will always love nursing. But I think this year, well, next year will be my last year of being a nurse.
Okay. And so, let's say it's a few years from now and you've completed law school. How do you see yourself putting that experience to use? Do you plan to become an actual attorney? Are there specific issues that you plan to focus on? Do you see yourself maybe going into politics? How do you plan to make use of your legal knowledge and experience?
Oh yeah, yeah, most definitely. More two sides of the spectrum. I believe that media kind of runs the world, so I pretty much want my own media company tied in with a legal service company also. So that's how I'm gonna use my degree. And I also want to run for public office in the near future to actually help people. And I feel like you need money first before you can run. So the thing about it, me having the media company pretty much is going to finance my dream of becoming I guess, politician, as you would say. I really don't like politician. I just want to come in as a mind changer. I don't want to be a motivational speaker or inspirational politician. I want to be a mind changer and actually change a couple things. So my dream is either be a congress man or a mayor or hey, president of the United States. I don't know about that, but anything that opens up.
Okay. And are there particular issues that you plan to focus on or just overall progression?
Oh yeah. I think I'm more passionate about um, just helping, more African American men get out of this, I say, what you call it, this web of the legal system. So I think I'm more passionate about like criminal justice.
Looking at where you are now
Mm.
and back over your career, if you have the opportunity to speak with your younger self and offer your younger self advice, or any young person that's still in school or just getting ready to enter the workforce, what advice would you offer?
Wow, that's a good question. Um, I think I would say uh, go bigger. Don't fear. Don't have any fear. Everything is gonna work out, and it's gonna work out to your wildest dreams. So just go bigger.
Imagine it's years from now, decades actually, and you're nearing or already retired. When you look back over your career, what accomplishments or achievements would you would make you consider your professional life a roaring success versus mediocre or even disappointing?
Yeah, if I look back over my career, I would say it was I would say it was a success. Back on my nursing career, it was a success because my nursing career actually opened up my gift for public speaking. So I felt like it was a success. I actually went around with Auburn University. I still got YouTube videos where I flew around all over the nation and actually talked to thousands of people that, was going through similar situations as I was going through or what I had went through. And I felt like I helped a lot of people through my nursing career. And I feel like I think it was a success if I'm actually helping people.
Okay. And would the same apply to your future legal or political career? Let's not say political because it sounds kind of cruddy. Let's say career as an activist then.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's what I'll be most proud of. Actually helping people, just helping people, just have a better quality of life here in America. Especially being in the land of the free and actually, having freedom and achieving freedom. So I feel like that will probably be the highlight. That's why I said, I can't wait till I get there. Yeah.
Okay. And so earlier you mentioned admiring people such as Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and such. Take them into consideration, or even if you think about other people or events, they could be famous or only known to you that have motivated, inspired, or otherwise influenced you in your career. Does any particular event or person come to mind?
I think the person that probably inspired me right now to even have a political career and even go that route, I think it'll be Malcolm X. I'm not a Muslim. Like I said, I'm a Christian, and I believe in Christ. But I think Malcolm X, just the way that he taught and the way that he commanded the room, I pray that, I'm even half the man that he is, just to have enough courage to be able to speak out on injustice and just to have philosophies and ideologies that actually make sense, the progression of this nation. I feel like Malcolm X was definitely the staple. I don't think it was one event that he did, but I think it was a lot of events that took place.
Does anyone else come to mind who might have inspired you? I mean, like you mentioned that nurse earlier, but like that's two people. So if you have anyone else in mind, or if you don't, that's fine as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. The nurse, like I said, Stacy. I remember her name to this day. She inspired me to be a nurse, and I really, really thank her for that. And like I said, she was always friendly, always compassionate about my situation. So I believe, actually just going to the doctor every 6 months, seeing her, I think that actually those events or those encounters actually shaped me to the nurse that I am today.
You mentioned enjoy reading. Either current books that you've read or books that you've read in the past over the course of your life, have any of them inspired you or influenced your perspective, the way you choose to live life, or like the career decisions that you've made?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the first book that I ever read was Rich Dad Poor Dad. That kind of shaped my. No, well, the first book I ever read as an adult, like I say, in my after college years. I think Rich Dad Poor Dad actually shaped my mind financially. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie kind of shaped my mind on how to interact with people when I'm actually doing nursing or actually going to my job. And books like Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad, things like that actually kind of shaped my mind on the activism side also. So different books like that actually just shaped my mind in just different areas of my life.
Okay. And so that's actually the last regular interview question. But is there anything else that you'd also like to share? Any interesting tidbits, life experiences, anything along those lines that you think might be useful or inspirational to anyone that might be listening?
No, I think anybody that that's listening to this, I just want to say that follow your intuition and follow what God has for you in life. And I say look at your life as a mirror and a window, and I feel like that's what I look at. A mirror allows you to look what's behind you. A window allows you to look what's in front of you. I never look at the mirror, the rear view mirror. I always look at the window that's in front of me. So don't look at the past hurts and the past, pain that you went through. I always look forward into that, that window that you're looking into, and just always, just be focused, man. Focus, have tunnel vision. Like I said, nothing in the past. Everything in the past is irrelevant. What you do today and right now in the second, the only thing that counts.
Okay. And to close out the interview, if you can share where people can connect with you online or learn more about you or what you might be working on.
Oh yeah, definitely. You can catch me on Instagram at Jeremy Phoenix Speaks. I speak about a lot of different topics on my Instagram. You can also catch me on Twitter. I talk about a lot of things on there. Jeremy Phoenix _ And what I'm working on the LSAT. That's the only thing I'm working on right now. I'm trying to be a better nurse each and every day.
Okay. So it was an absolute pleasure to speak with you. And thank you to everyone for listening and tuning in. Key takeaways. Be the change you seek in the world. As a Black person, you might be the only or one of a few Black people in an academic setting or work environment, which can feel a bit isolating. Support and participate in meaningful programs and initiatives to attract diverse candidates. Advocate for being inclusive and go out into your community to increase awareness of programs, share your experiences, and offer guidance. Test scores are important, and you should certainly try to do your best to get a great score the first time, but don't be discouraged if you make an honest effort and fail on your first try. Buckle down, study, and try again. There are countless stories of people failing nursing exams, bar exams, etc. on the first try, only to pass on their second and third attempt, and then going on to have successful careers. Sometimes it's just a matter of adjusting your study method, and when you find a method that works, you can share those tips with others. It can be intimidating to enter a new environment, whether as a new college grad or simply a new position, but don't question your right to be there, and don't compare yourself to others who may have more experience or accomplishments. You can certainly look at their career paths and try to learn from the moves they've made. Don't be that new person that thinks they know everything, but realize that you can still contribute. In some environments, doing things differently can be regarded as doing them wrong. Take the time to understand what's expected of you and check in to be sure that you're meeting expectations. If there's a disconnect, it might be a good idea to sit down with your manager and assess what adjustments should be made. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the thumbs up button and share it online. I hope you'll also subscribe to the channel and return for future episodes to get motivated, get inspired, and get stories of Black history made and in the making. Until next time, take care. For show notes, visit noirhistoire.com via the link in the episode description. While you're there, subscribe to the Noir Histoire newsletter to get fresh content delivered straight to your email inbox. You can also shop for Noir Histoire merchandise and accessories. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.